comes up right-footed, swirls it round the ball, it takes the deflection, and that has gone straight into the net. Are we about to witness a sensation? It's Bayern Munich 0, Raith Rovers 1.
This is a football fairy story. Once upon a time in a town in Fife, a little club dared to dream the impossible dream. Their fame, which had once spread not much further than Methil, stretched as far as Munich. It takes some believing, but it's true.
I think if you speak about those times, it puts a smile back on people's faces.
I don't think it'll ever be repeated. It was a one-off.
I wouldn't say we had any superstars in it, but I think that's what made it even more special.
I don't think anyone in Kirkcaldy will ever forget the year that Raith Rovers had.
Here's what you can actually achieve when you put your mind to it.
In the summer of 1994, Raith Rovers were relegated to the First Division after a miserable Premier League term. They were no pub team, but the board's last orders to the manager Jimmy Nicholl demanded the Rovers return to the big time. His team was brimming with young guns but lacking experience. Nicholl brought in veterans David Narey and Ian Redford on free transfers.
If you've got 7, 8 young ones in the team and you get 3 or 4 good experienced players, now on the park they're a great help to you.
The experience rubs off on the younger boys, and I think the younger boys' enthusiasm for the game rubs off in the older players.
We had a good balance to our side, we had good experience and good positions, and we had the younger guys with good legs and fitness and in different positions that worked round about us.
The mix worked. Raith beat second division Ross County 5-0 in the first round of the League Cup, with Ali Graham scoring a hat-trick. Colin Cameron matched the achievement in the next round against Kilmarnock, when David Narey made his debut.
David Narey came to us at the age of 38. He'd played about 900 games. He was a legend for Scotland and Dundee United, so I think it was a great signing.
He'd been away on holiday. He actually came back that day, came straight back into the side, and I think he was man of the match that night.
Suddenly, Rovers were within 2 games of a place in the final of the Coca-Cola League Cup. Beating opposition in the First Division was proving a little more problematic. By September, they were toiling in 8th position. Hardly music to the ears. Raith had to find a way to whistle a happier tune.
Before the games and that, we tried to keep it as relaxed as possible. We always had the ghetto blast in the dressing room.
It took the pressure of them having to talk or having to try to be funny or do something, take their mind off the game.
It was always a race to get there first, and Saturday afternoons to see who could get the music on first.
We had to start off with my choice of music.
I think Van Morrison was his favourite, and Mick Jagger, I'm sure I've seen a Mick Jagger impersonation.
I had the worst taste in the world in music.
Think about Humperdinck, Barry White and all that, that'd be Daz's type of stuff.
The minute I went into the toilet or something, you knew that the records were getting changed.
We would let the opposition hear the dressing room and let them know that they were going to be in a game. So it was a bit of psychology more than anything.
10 minutes before the game, that was when the music got switched off, and that was when the serious heads come on.
It was Nicholl who was orchestrating things on and off the park. Before September was out, his team had scored a 3-1 victory over St Johnstone in the quarter-final of the League Cup. As player-manager, he had a dressing room fan club.
He was a fantastic player. I hate to say that, but he certainly was a fantastic player. And on the park, you learn from him.
Jimmy had always been a class act. Groomed at Manchester United and Rangers, he was also a World Cup star for Northern Ireland before being appointed manager of Raith Rovers in 1990. At the end of his first season, he talked the board into making the club full-time, and within 3 years, they were in the top flight. But back in 1994, their cup run was causing them to limp along in the First Division.
Our league form going into the cup wasn't very good. In fact, it was dreadful.
For some reason, we just weren't clicking as a team in the league performances.
Everybody thinks the same thing. Our league form will improve, the players' confidence will improve. But it didn't.
The semi-final draw paired Raith with Airdrie, who had already eliminated them from the B&Q Cup that season. But that defeat wasn't going to haunt them. The pre-match accommodation would see to that.
We stayed in this hotel way up in the hill, I think it was, and we were all led to believe that it was haunted.
We hears a bang at the window and we're like, no, this isn't right.
It was a bit scary. It was very scary.
I think it goes over and just he sees a way to draw the curtains open. Sean Day in his jumpsuit, giving him the biggest fright in the world. Me and Jason are halfway along the corridor.
By the end of it, the full team was all in this wee wee room hiding behind wardrobes and that, try to see the look in the people's faces, but great banter.
So that was our preparation for the game. And of course we left David Neary at the hotel. The bus left to go to the game Tuesday night, and there was one left. It was David Neary, and the chef from the hotel brought him to the game. So I think it was just another day in the life of Raith Rovers at that time.
October 25th, 1994, the League Cup semi-final. Not just another day in the life of Raith Rovers.
I can remember David Neary getting the ball, and before we knew it, he played a ball to Gordon Dale inside the box.
And the chance is taken brilliantly in the end. Ali Graham makes it 1-0 to Raith Rovers.
That was a fantastic experience, scoring a semi-final.
All good fairy stories have to have a twist, but there was no big bad wolf here, just a referee who thought the goalie had strayed too far from home.
Well, now the linesman has flagged that was outside the box.
To this day, I still think it was very borderline, but that's the way it was. He gave me a straight red card and off I went.
Still, no problem. The manager will have a hugely experienced substitute goalkeeper on the bench, won't he?
What a moment this is for 17-year-old Brian Potter.
Within 2 or 3 seconds, it was just like the penny had dropped. It was like, this is it, I'm on.
If ever you wanted anybody to do anything in their football career, it was Brian Potter. He worked that hard in training. He was determined to go and make a career of it, and he was given his opportunity, but whether he was ready for that, we didn't know.
He was YTS goalie, and you're thinking, oh, what an opportunity, but at the same time, down to 10 men, is he going to be able to handle it?
The Airdrie fans were right behind me. They made me quite welcome as well, let me know what they thought about me, my height and my weight and my size and everything like that. But I soon settled down, I actually started to enjoy it.
The Airdrie players soon put a stop to that.
Cooper. He's made it!
I thought that was it, I've let everyone down. But I couldn't really do much about the goal, but it wasn't looking too good for us at that time.
We thought that was it, it was going to be, as Jimmy Nicholl used to say, fixed bayonets. We were going to be up against it.
30 minutes of extra time. And coming up, some of the best moments from the life of Brian. The teenager, under constant fire, was playing like a veteran.
Full-time score after extra time. Every one. Raith Rovers won. Jimmy Nicholl selecting the players for the penalty shootout.
I think a lot of guys were kind of looking to the ground and kidding on, they'd cramp and things, so that they didn't volunteer, but he managed to get the 5 guys.
Here comes Sean Dennis. McInnesby. Here's Cameron. And now Steve Coffert. Danny Lennon. Now it's effectively into sudden death here.
Next up, Alan Lawrence, whose penalty had put Raith out of the B&Q Cup.
Every goalkeeper will tell you, you've just got to wait and see what the moment is. As Alan approached the 18-yard line, I threw the ball as high as I could. Hopefully that just delayed his reactions just 2 or 3 seconds, and hopefully it put him off just a wee bit.
He has to score, it's as simple as that. And Potter has saved it! Raith Rovers are in the final, and 17-year-old Brian Potter has taken them there.
It was just like noise, just 2 or 3 seconds of noise, and all of a sudden I could see that the fans were coming on.
We just ran and grabbed him. It was just, I think we got him on top of our shoulders. I think we just carried him up and down the park.
And it wasn't until we were back in the change rooms that you actually start to realise, my God, what have I done here? And all the players were just so happy that Raith Rovers were through to a major final.
The Cup Kings turned into the Dancing Queens, except for the goalie. Raith's team spirit was great, but Potter was too young to drink it.
The unfortunate thing for the hero was that Brian couldn't get in because he was too young.
So us being all good teammates that we were, just chipped in, given the taxi fare home, and we continued on dancing.
By mid-November, Raith were back on the straight and narrow in the promotion race. They had risen to 4th place, albeit 8 points behind Dunfermline. But Raith's focus was on Coca-Cola Cup final opponent Celtic. Big opposition. So Nicholl adopted a big-time build-up. If it was good enough for Manchester United in his playing days, it would be good enough for the Rovers.
If you win the Saturday, you were off Sunday. You were off Monday. We trained hard Tuesday, played golf on Wednesday. Warm-up, crossing and finishing on a 5-a-side Thursday and a 5-a-side on a Friday. Now, we did that for 4 years. And as unprofessional as it sounds, we did that at Raith Rovers.
His training was basically short and sharp, and he stuck to the same routine most weeks.
The training facilities in those days were just a local public park.
Unfortunately, these places were also frequented by people walking their dogs.
I remember vividly in the mornings, me and my sister Martin Harvey, we used to get the car up early.
It was turnabout, whoever had to make sure that they were on the dog poo duty.
Then the players would walk up and you could find a wee area for them and, oh, well done Gaff, well done Harvey. It's a dog-free morning this morning. There were other times when we missed a couple of late Alsatians coming in and we missed it. And so then the wee cleaner woman wasn't happy because all of a sudden the gear sent down to laundry and oh, it was horrific, so it was.
If the training gear was stinking, so was the luck of midfielder Danny Lennon. His broken foot in a training ground accident dealt Nicol a huge blow. He would have to reshuffle his pack.
The night before the final, Jimmy actually pulled myself, Stevie Crawford and Jason Dare into his room. And that was probably the only time that we were all scared because we felt that we were going to get left out of the team for whatever reason.
And they told us all three of us were going to be playing.
It was Danny's misfortune, but our fortune in a sense.
It was a brave decision for him. We obviously felt we had no fear and nothing to lose. We were just going to go out and enjoy ourselves, and I think all the pressure was on Celtic.
What a feeling it was walking out onto the pitch and seeing the Raith Rovers fans. You know, they got the whole stand that day, there's 12,000 of them. Right away you're thinking, this is what it's all about.
Well, Celtic get the Coca-Cola Cup final underway.
In them days, win the League Cup, you get into Europe. I said, Harv, you know, we're 90 minutes away from Europe.
For that, Raith would have to beat Celtic, and it took them 20 minutes just to get their first corner. But then...
Here's Crawford, a chance! It's the only goal for Raith Rovers! Stevie Crawford!
I know there's a few in the family that like putting on a bet, and they made a few quid out of it as well.
Had Raith scored too early, with 70 minutes left to play, Celtic were bound to equalise. And in the 84th minute, the fairy tale turned into a sob story.
Nicholas is surely now won the cup for Celtic.
My heart just sunk. Honestly, I just thought, oh no, here we go, that's it. The dream is gone.
The ribbons had been put on the cup, the green and white ribbons for Celtic, with a number of minutes to go. You know, meaning that they thought Celtic were going to win, and obviously never took into account that we weren't finished yet.
And astonishingly, neither they were.
A chance on here for the equaliser, and Raith Rovers have done it! It's gone Biel!
It was like slow motion, the ball getting in the back of the net.
Rumour has it that he put it in his nose.
We all looked at War's linesman, was he offside or was his nose offside?
He sniffed an opportunity, like all good strikers do.
Just to let everybody know, I actually headed the ball. If I'd put that in my nose, I'd have burst the net.
And the final whistle goes, Harv, we're 30 minutes away from Europe.
With neither side scoring in extra time, Raith Rovers found themselves in yet another penalty shootout. But this time, it was for the Cup and for Europe.
We're a penalty kick away from Europe. A penalty kick. And then you're just hoping with their nerve holes.
Here's Sean Dennis.
I had no set idea what I was going to do.
Jason Dare.
It wasn't the greatest penalty in the world, I must admit, but it was a goal.
You don't want to be the one missing a penalty, you know what I mean? Nobody remembers the one who takes the penalties. You always know the ones who miss the penalties.
Please hit the target, please hit the target. If you hit the target, keeper saves it, nobody can have a go at you.
Stevie Crawford. And now it is sudden death.
I've done a wee routine that Brian did in the semi-final when he threw the ball up in the air, and I'll try this.
Here's Paul McStay. Unthinkable, surely, for the skipper to miss.
I've had a double take at the referee and I just started running, so I'm running towards the halfway line. All the guys had buggered off to the Raith Rovers supporters.
I just remember running in the park, sprinting out like a madman with the arms up and just... I don't think he even ran to anybody, I just ran.
We were just hugging each other and it was like, it was so emotional.
Being a captain, it was a proud moment for me to go up and lift the cup on behalf of Raith Rovers.
you just realise then what it meant to everybody, and the closeness to celebrate a victory like that, the friendships that we built in that team.
It was simply party time for the Raith Rovers players and everybody involved with the club and everyone in Kirkcaldy.
And right enough, they were dancing in the streets of Raith that night.
I remember getting up in the morning and I got a phone call and, "Where are you?" So what do you mean, where are you? She says, "You should be at Starks Park for a press conference." And I remember there's a picture afterwards and it shows me sitting on a step at Starks Park with a cup in between my legs and I had holes in the soles of my shoes. I looked a mess and I know I wasn't a mess. But that was the first wee thing I learned, but you've still got your responsibilities.
Having won the cup, Jimmy's next responsibility was to win the First Division. His team were right behind him.
It was his man management skills that were second to none.
He was always saying, "Right, come on, we're going for a game of golf, right? We're going to the bowling, right? Come on, we're going to the go-karts." And that was the way he was. He wanted everybody to be or go out together and be as one.
The enthusiasm he has is, I don't actually think it's just for football, it's life in general. He always puts a smile on somebody's face.
There was a smile on everyone's face when soon after the cup win, the team went on a 14-match unbeaten league run. By April, Raith were top, with Dunfermline, Dundee and Airdrie snapping at their heels. On the 6th of May 1995, Raith had to beat local rivals Dunfermline to clinch the league. It ended 0-0, and the championship would be decided on the last day of the season. A draw against Hamilton would be enough to win the title and promotion. After a nervy 90 minutes, the game ended 0-0. Raith had won the day. But Nicol and Diel's playing careers were at an end.
It was a great year for me and it was a great way to leave on a high, the captain winning the double for Raith Rovers.
That meant just as much to me, because of the position we're in, as beating Celtic in the cup. It really did. It was a great achievement.
At the start of the 95-96 Premier League season, David Narey ended his playing career, and Nicol brought in Tony Rougier and Jim McInally. The great adventure continued. Even before a ball was kicked in the league, Raith Rovers had to attend to the UEFA Cup.
We were drawn against a team from the Faroes now. I think everybody will have different opinions on how to say the name, but I remember it as Go-To Trotterfellag.
I think the pronunciation is Guto Interflag.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce. It was Go-To whatever.
I go to something.
Well, that team from the Faroes with that big long name.
Big long name, red letter day, Raith Rovers' first taste of Europe. History was being made all over the place.
I managed to score Raith's first goal in Europe. Me sliding in on my backside from about a yard out. And I didn't usually miss for about a yard out, so that was a great feeling.
Rovers had taken to this European thing like they were born to hold a passport. They won 4-0 and set off for the return leg in the North Atlantic.
It's like a walnut whip. It's like somebody shaved the top of a walnut whip and put a football pitch on the top of it. It's horrific.
Suitably, the game was a cliffhanger. It finished 2-2, but Rovers could relax on the cushion of their first leg win. Now for the Premier Division. First up, of all clubs, Celtic. The Hoops carved out revenge with a 1-0 win in the league and then 5 days later dumped Rovers out of the cup. Their cup. Raith then discovered that Ibrox wasn't such a welcoming place. Rangers thumped them 4-0. What they needed was the salvation of Europe. They'd never lost there. Bring on the Icelandic side, Akranes. And sure enough, it was back to the old routine.
Lennon with a shot. And he scored the dreaded away goal. Lennon. Yes! Looking at Barry Wilson, chance on here. He got the touch. He scored the third.
The game ended 3-1 to Raith. The Icelanders' away goal was a worry, but never fear, Jimmy Nick had a plan. But it sounds more suited to formation dancing.
I was so worried about the second leg that I must admit I panicked.
We played a formation which I've never seen before and I've never seen since.
I did a stupid thing and I went with a flat back four but with two sweepers. So there was 6 at the back and we worked on it and the players looked at me as if I had 2 heads.
We were like, all right, okay, fine.
Looking back now, it was the daftest thing I ever did in football.
Akranes loved Raith's crazy 6-man defence and won the game, but only by a single goal. Goalkeeper Scott Thompson was the hero as Rovers squeezed through.
And I remember the chairman coming to me after the game and saying, well done Scott, he says, well, you'll be due a double bonus for this, which I've still yet to have, so if he's listening.
I remember getting in the airport afterwards, all the Raith Rovers supporters were at the bar, and it was a great night. I think the plane was delayed. I think we were all hoping the plane was delayed, and it was a great occasion. It was a great night, it really was.
In the next round, Little Raith Rovers drew one of the biggest clubs in the world, Bayern Munich, 3 times winner of the European Cup. And superstar Jurgen Klinsmann paid his compliments to a team he'd never even heard of.
So we have a lot of respect for the team, and we know it's going to be a very tough and difficult match, but we're quite confident anyway.
There was a wee bit of fear, obviously, because you don't want to be embarrassed and you don't want to let people down.
It was another dream, you know, playing against one of the best teams in Europe.
This is what it's all about. This is what we deserve. This is what the fans deserve.
The game was switched from Starks Park to Easter Road in Edinburgh. Fans poured out of Kirkcaldy to watch one of the biggest games in the club's history.
Playing against the likes of Klinsmann's, Papans, Nerlingers, you know, Cans, it was absolutely fantastic.
The Germans also wanted the ball changed.
They actually offered us £1,000, I think, to play with a tango, which they actually used there. But money for Raith Rovers at that time was no object, so we declined and played with our mitre ball, and still didn't help us in the day.
In goes Klinsmann, it's over Thompson, and Jurgen Klinsmann has struck here. Ziegler, and Klinsmann to work within the centre, but Ziegler goes on himself. Klinsmann!
In the end, it was Klinsmann who had a ball. Raith now needed 3 goals to go through. The night before the second leg, Rovers trained at the Olympic Stadium in Munich. They were just a little bit odd.
Once you go to the stadium the night before, you're hyper, your adrenaline's pumped up, you're so enthusiastic, and I said to Harvey, we're not going to be able to get these boys off the pitch.
We're having a wee game of possession. The tangos are out at this particular time. They wouldn't accept our bribe of £10 plus a mitre ball.
I actually had a chuckle to myself, and I thought, I wonder what the German players would make of coming up to Beveridge Park and training up there and having to move the dog's dirt for the pitch before they train.
October 31st, 1995. Under the watchful eyes of Bayern Munich supporters, the last-minute preparations were underway for the second round, second leg of the UEFA Cup.
The dressing rooms were bigger than anything that we were used to.
There was more hairdryers in the dressing room I'd ever seen in my life, so I don't know if that's a German thing or not.
Jimmy would have been delighted for that. He loved a wee blow dry now and again.
Jimmy Nicholl was doing his team talk. Everybody's sitting there getting pumped up and that, and the next thing he throws the armband at me, the captain's armband, and I looked, and he went, Sinky, lead them out. I went, eh?
If we're going to be under the cosh, then Sinky's going to be the one to lead by example, not to be frightened.
It was an absolute honour to lead the team across there. It was just sheer nerve-wracking. You try to hold it in because you've got 10,000 Raith Rovers supporters up on your left-hand side, family and friends and that.
You just have to pinch yourself, eh? I mean, it's a great thing to be going out and playing football and to be playing in one of the biggest stadiums in the world.
I want to go out and play, I want to go out and enjoy myself, and I want to go out and make people proud that, you know, we're here to compete.
You feel as if you're the small team, you're the underdog, but as soon as the ball's kicked, you know, at the start of the game, everyone forgets about this and the nerves disappear, and you're really enjoying the game.
But the enjoyment didn't last long.
Bayern got a penalty, and I think it was Papan taking it. Another great internationalist player. You just got to laugh when you think he's playing against these guys.
I fancied saving it just because the mood I was in, you know, once you save one penalty, you're dying for the next one. I actually went the wrong way, I was nowhere near it, and he's actually hit the bar with it, so there's a wee bit of luck again.
And we started to come into the game slowly but gradually, defending very well, making it difficult to break down.
Freistoß jetzt für Raith Rovers nach diesem Foul an Denny Lennon.
I get brought down just outside of their box on the left-hand side, and we gain a free kick. Actually, at that particular time, I was hitting a wee purple patch where I was having a wee bit of success with dead ball situations. And the next minute, full squad's round about me. It was elevation. You can actually see in my face I'm actually surprised that it goes in, and I'm looking at the heavens. Raith Rovers were back in Europe.
I just remember that the scoreboard saying Bayern Munich 0, Raith Rovers 1, and the whole of the Raith Rovers end during the whole 10 minutes at half time was just constantly flashes from everybody's cameras taking picture of the scoreboard.
My half time team, it just disintegrated into, it was a farce really.
Doesn't say anything, he just bursts out laughing.
And we're all looking at each other thinking, is he went off his head? What's happening here?
Through the walls you could hear next door. You could hear the German lads getting a rallying.
Not that we could understand it right enough, but there were certainly voices raised.
I can't do a German accent, but you Dennis, Lennon, it was as if he was talking about our players. How's he doing? How's he beating you in there? How's he doing this right? And I said, listen to this, come here. And we all pinned our ears up against the wall.
We were all quite confident going out at the start of the second half.
I always remember just waving at the camera because I knew my family at home and that would be watching it.
And I think it was about 4 minutes in the second half. Tony Rozier, from 6 yards in an angle, hits a side netting, and we should have been 2 up.
You just thought to yourself, it's not going to be our day.
Jawohl, Klinsmann!
But then they get a corner. Sure, it's actually Ziegler leans on Tomo as Tomo's went to catch it.
As the final whistle sounded, Raith's dream of European glory was over.
Well, at full time when it's over, you turn around and say, like everything else, you look at the players and you look at the effort they put in, and all through, not just that night, the whole 6 years, you turn around and say, right, it's come to this. Brilliant. They've been beaten 2-1 by Bayern Munich, but what an effort it was.
It was the end of the road for us as far as Europe goes, but you know, it was a great way to go out because I think that season Bayern went on to win it.
And I looked across and Nick was going like that, go to the supporters. And I just shouted, come on, let's go.
Other teams might have just walked off the park that night, but he made sure that we went over as a team, holding hands and, you know, looking into our own supporters and saying thank you for supporting us. And I think it was a thank you to each other as well as players, and you know, as I say, it was quite emotional.
We knew that we didn't let them down. We didn't let Scotland down.
It's my proudest moment ever. It was absolutely fantastic. Fantastic, so it was.
Jimmy Nicholl had penned a fairy tale, even though at times it had seemed like a pantomime. Sure enough, the manager set off to find out if the streets of London were paved with gold. In February 1996, he joined Millwall, taking Crawford, Dare and Sinclair with him, and Raith Rovers began a slow decline. But it was a fairy tale, and the memory of what happened over that incredible 2 seasons will live happily ever after.
And Jimmy's just a special, special man, that he's got that determination about him to be successful. But at the same time, in defeat, he can also be the man that he is as well.
His whole way he goes about his job, and the way he speaks to people, and the way he gets people to come out of their shells and play better.
He had a great knack of dealing with the different players in different ways, and he always seemed to get the best out of the players he had.
I must admit, that season, we beat Celtic in the Cup and clinched in the league, and the last game, and then the Bayern Munich game, that was I don't think I'll ever top that.